とうございました。Thank you for the wonderful presentation. さらにお話が聞きたいという方は、ぜひこの後交流していただけますと幸いです。では続いてはアフリカのパネル。アフリカ最大市場、ナイジェリア、ディープフロックするアフリカ金融革命と次なる成長市場です。ナイジェリア発16億人市場へと広がる金融革命を議論してまいります。モデレーターはアンカバーロファンドの寺久保拓磨さん、そしてご登壇はランクのセミ・イロミニさん、そしてヤラのアデボラ・アデミラニさん、そしてレジスタのルカイトベロさん、そして TGI ラボの山本康人さんです。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。拍手をお願いいたします。
じゃあここからですね、アフリカのパネルセッションを、やっていきたいなというふうに思います。さっきプレゼンしてくれた3社の、スタートアップに、加えてですね、このセッションから山本さんに、セッションご参加いただきます。山本さんはですね、去年、実はこの、ゲートトゥ、グローバルサウスでですね、実はじゃんけんで勝った人がナイジェリアに招待というような、企画がありまして、なんと100人ぐらいの、中からですね、勝ち抜いた、方になります。先月かな、先月でしたっけ、先月ですかね、うちとSG グローさんで、各社の投資先集めてですね、ナイジェリアで20社ぐらいの、スタートアップの、2泊3日の合宿みたいなのをさせていただきまして、そこに一緒に山本さんも来ていただいてですね、実際現地のスタートアップ、いろんなコミュニケーションを取っていただいたりとか、初ナイジェリアですので、ね、はい、だから実際訪問してみてどんな印象でした？
印象はですね、もともと私14年ほど海外の事業開発というのをやっておりまして、東南アジアであったりとかインド地域っていうのをずっと見ていたんですが、今回アフリカは初めて、ナイジェリアも当然初めてということで、だいぶ行ってみて印象違いました。最初はリサーチであったりとか、数字の面っていうのはもともと把握をしていて、マーケット大きいなと思っていたんですけども、実際に現地で行ってみると、本当にビジネスとして、投資の機会として、このように可能性がある市場だなということをよく理解できました。
あれですもんね、楽天でスタートアップ投資とかもやられて、東南アジアとかも見られてたんですよね。
そうですね、もともと3月末までは楽天に在籍をしておりまして、そこでスタートアップ連携軸とした新規事業開発をメインでやっておりました。
後ほど山本さんにもまたちょっといろいろ現地の話とか、聞いていこうと思います。はい。So, please introduce yourself. Some from Femi.
Hi, my name is Femi Iromi. I'm the CEO of Rank. Prior to starting Rank, I worked with the World Bank with a focus on the bottom of the pyramid, and also working in investment banking, Goldman Sachs, and all. And I've had a great time being in Japan, and more importantly, Tokyo. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abdullah Adinara, and I am the CTO and co-founder of Yala. My background is in AI and blockchain development. Before Yala, I actually worked at a company called Tezos, where I was working on the blockchain that powered over $1 billion in market cap. And I think that's pretty much it. It's nice to be in Japan.
All right, my name is Rukainat Bello, and I'm Madam Graduate actually. So my background has been in finance, auditing, accounting, and customer service. I'm a chartered accountant in Nigeria, and I'm passionate about financial inclusion. So thank you for having us, thank you for this opportunity, thank you for everyone that made it possible. And before I give it to the other person, I would say Japan is a beautiful country. Thank you.
Thanks so much. あ、そうですね。山本さん、自己紹介いたします。
山本康人と申します。私はですね、3月末まで楽天グループに所属しておりまして、そこでスタートアップ連携軸とした新規事業開発など、メインでやっておりました。これまで14年間ぐらいアジア中心に事業開発、やっておりました。
Thank you very much for coming to Japan. We struggled to build the process more than 3 years, but finally I'm glad you guys to be here. Alright.
Thank you.
Yeah. じゃあ最初質問ではちょっとアフリカとか、ナイジェリアのマーケット全体の話をちょっと聞いていきたいなと思っています。ナイジェリア最初のプレゼンでも説明させていただいたんですけど、アフリカで一番人口を抱える国でして、スタートアップの活動もですね、最も活発なのがナイジェリアになってます。アフリカユニコーンが全部で今9社いるんですけど、そのうち7社はナイジェリアのフィンテックという現状ですので、まさにこの3社ともナイジェリアのフィンテックというところで本当にこう注目されている市場で、チャレンジしているスタートアップになります。So, first question, I'd like to ask, why Africa and why now? So, Africa is no longer just a future opportunity. I think the population growth, urbanization, and then the digital adoption has makes totally different market compared to 10 years ago. So, can you tell us why African Nigeria is growing now?
So, yes, I've taken the time to listen to the presentation from Brazil and India. And when you look at Africa, where Africa is currently, it's almost like where India was like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even for Brazil. And in reality, it's more like we're building the bedrock for what is going to be the boom in terms of technology globally in Africa. So the first level is the fact that when you look at the case of Nigeria as a classic example, the regulators are well positioned in terms of creating a framework that make financial services accessible. The first level is in terms of identity, and with that identity is such that they created something called bank verification number, and with that identity comes with the cashless policy in 2012. With cashless policy, it was mandatory that digital payments is compulsory. Now, when you look at identity, with identity come access, and with access come affordability. So I believe that with Africa, we've been able to move from that first layer of digital identity into being able to provide financial access, basically, and also being able to build digital framework around this. Now, one interesting thing is the fact that with all of this in place, it's such that we're able to create localization when it comes to our technology. A classic example is M-Pesa in Kenya. M-Pesa was able to design a model that is unique, universal in terms of implementation. And the other part is around mobile money. In Africa, there are more mobile numbers than account numbers, right? Which is very unique. So I believe that with all of this uniqueness and localization, it has actually positioned Africa to be in that place where digital adoption is critical and also is ripe for investment. And also the third layer is in terms of validation. Like you mentioned, 9 unicorn and about 7 out of them are in Nigeria. It's not, it's very coincidence. It's such that the framework has been there already. And one of the major exits when it comes to the markets is Paystack, which was acquired by Stripe, right? So I believe that the time is now for Africa, and more so, if a lot of people have missed out on India and other markets, Africa is the next phase because the population of the youngest people is going to be in Africa or even is in Africa already.
I think at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm also going to echo the things that Femi has said. Africa is projected to have a population of 2.5 billion people by 2030, which is just 4 years from now. And if you think about, if you look at Nigeria last year, for example, there were over 7 million new kids born in Nigeria last year. I think Takuma and I were discussing this yesterday in Japan. There were only 800,000 kids born in Japan last year, right? So you can imagine the strength of that population. Also, there is a growing middle class as well in Africa. So there are more people with more resources and more money to spend. And the next step is consumerism, right? So these young people will now have a growing middle class. They need to consume products, and so we need to produce the products for these people to consume. And so for me, that's why I believe that Africa is the next frontier. So think about looking at the population demographics, looking at the amount of the size of the growing middle class, so more people with more resources to spend. And I think that of course consumerism. So there are products for these people to buy. There's a huge opportunity there, and there's demand for whatever products you're selling.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I would say it is Africa because Africa is the future. We understand the fact that we are lagging behind in some of the things, and that was some years ago. But I will tell you now that we've woken up, we are doing a lot, and then the uniqueness about Africa is because of the convergence of technology. We are adopting technology in all areas of life. Talk about people who can't access financial inclusion. Now they have access to digital financial inclusion without them living their lives. Talk about people who cannot afford healthcare system. Now they can call any doctor they want to talk to that they have this kind of problem. So we've adopted technology so much that's why we can boost up 7 unicorn in Nigeria out of 9 in Africa. And not just in Nigeria, I would say even South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, and Kenya. That's the top 5 when it comes to innovators in Africa. We are doing so much, we are doing a whole lot. And I would say that last week I talked about, having about 50 million on banks, in Nigeria like some years ago. Today, if you check Google, so you see that it has reduced drastically to about 28 to 30 million. So it is telling you that Africa, Nigeria is doing a whole lot when it comes to reducing, the burdens, and I would say it is Africa now. And we don't need to wait for future, we just need to start now. Thank you.
山本さんに聞きたいんですけど、実際山本さん世界中のスタートアップ今まで見られてきたかなと思うんですけど、今回実際ナイジェリア訪問されて実際ナイジェリアのスタートアップってどんな印象を持たれました？
印象はですね、いろいろアジア中心にですね、スタートアップの方とお話をしてくる中で、やっぱりインドであったりとか中国であったりとか共通点だったり、日本のスタートアップとの違いみたいなところっていうのはよく見えてきたかなと思います。で、特に経営の観点で抱えている課題感とかっていうのは共通しているなと思ったんですけども、大きい違いでいうとやはり今のフェーズの違いですね。例えば今中国で投資をしようとか事業開発しようというのは非常に難しいフェーズだと思いますし、インドも本当にユニコーンだらけになってなかなか入り込めなくなっている。でも今ナイジェリアであれば投資のチャンスがある、事業開発のチャンスがある、そこが一番大きいところかなと思いました。
起業家の特性とかなんですかね、内面的なところとか感じたことがありますか？
内面的なところはやはりとは思ったんですけども、非常に皆さんスマートで。多分バックグラウンド的にもイギリスとの関係性が近い国であったりとかですね、非常にスタートアップの経営者としての資質っていうのを備わっている本当に高い方がいっぱいいらっしゃるかなということを肌で感じました。
まさにですね、ちょっと今の話に上がったみたいにデジタル化っていうところ過去10年一気に進んだことによってやっぱりスマホとかをベースにやっぱり決済の文化だったりとかその中で一気に動き出したと。でそこにやっぱり優秀な、ナイジェリアの方々がですね、本当にチャンスと、見て起業する、日本の多分スタートアップ業界も本当に初期の頃って、多分本当にそうだったと思うんですけど、そういったチャンスをですね絶対逃さない、起業家の方々がですね、積極的に新しい事業を作っている、そんなタイミングなので、まさにそこがアフリカが今、伸び始めている、かつ、すごくチャンスを、迎えている、そんなタイミングなのかなと思っております。はい、で続いてですね、ちょっと現地、さっきちょっとピッチを聞いていただいたんですけど、なかなか日本人にとってですね、現地の課題って なかなかこうちょっと理解しづらい、部分っていうところもあるかなと思って、そこをちょっともうちょっと、深掘って、聞いていきたいなと思います。So, Femi, the first issue. So, what financial challenge have Nigerian consumer historically has, and how rank product solve the problem?
So when you look at look at the current population in Nigeria, a huge part, like over 50%, 60% are more like young people, right? And that means a lot of them, they've adopted technology. Digital penetration is around 80%, right? So when you look at that, we've done a good work in terms of being able to make this accessible. But what we've seen is traditional banks did not really design a platform that are tailored to young people, one. The other part to that is the fact that access to credit is still very expensive. Think about you doing 30 to 70%, like I mentioned, and compared to other crimes like Japan is 1% benchmark, the US is about 6%, right? So credit is expensive, cost of banking is expensive, right? And all of this is built around the fact that the regulatory framework is still growing, is still developing. Now, what we're doing is we're not waiting for that. We're making it such that banking can be affordable. It can be, it's scalable. Now, in terms of affordability, the first level is how people are able to access our platforms. And what we've done is, with your phone number, which rank, you can actually have a bank account. Your phone number is actually your bank account with rank, right? It makes it portable to be able to use. The next part is, a lot of young people, when they need access to credit, it's difficult for them because it's expensive. And that is why when they're not in Nigeria, the next thing is, I'm able to achieve this. But with what we're doing at Rank, we've done it such that you can actually access credit at zero interest. We make credits to be cheaper by 70-80% more than traditional banks and other fintechs, right? The third level is around the cost of banking itself, and which is why we look at it this way. Often, when you look at financial inclusion, it's always around the cost to serve is expensive, right? And often the people they're trying to serve that are not included, they don't actually have money to be able to be included, right? So what we're trying to do is such that the cost of serving them is cheaper, which is why our cost of acquisition, we've been able to reduce it with our model to less than $1. That's incredible. It's cheaper than any other fintech in Nigeria. And when the cost of acquisition is cheap, it means cost to serve is cheap. And which is why, with our network effect, for every one person we're acquiring 10 people with it. So that's more like an end factor. And when that is in place, it makes it such that people that never had access to financial services can actually have access to it. They can have access to credit, they can save, and more importantly, in groups, they can access opportunities. They can build houses together. It's similar to the concept of Kyojo in Japanese, which is mutual support, community support. It's the same model that we're leveraging technology to do to make banking affordable in Africa, basically.
Thank you. So, Deborah, please tell us why the stable coin to be the new infrastructure for the emerging market. Because for Japanese people doesn't understand how we can use the stable coin to trading to say.
Okay. Thanks, Takuma, for the question. In Africa right now, there's a massive adoption of stablecoin, and the reason why there's this adoption of stablecoin is because it's the way people hedge or protect themselves against devaluation in the currency. And I'll give you a very simple example. So say about 10 years ago, $1 was about 160 naira, right? But now today, $1 is about 1,300 naira, right? Now, if you had kept your money in Naira 10 years ago and tried to take that money out in dollars today, you would have less dollars today than you had back then. But if you had held your money in stable coins 10 years ago, you would essentially have more Naira today than you had back then, right? So that's the value of stable coins. It's essentially just a way, as a store of value, and it's a way to hedge against devaluation in the currency. Now, back to Takuma's question around trade and why our stablecoin helps to facilitate trade. Because there is not a lot of demand for local African currencies, people have found a way to essentially swap their local African currency, like say the Naira, which we spend in Nigeria, or the SOF, which is spent in Francophone Africa. They would essentially swap those currencies for stablecoins. So stablecoins like USDT or USDC, which are the most popular stablecoins today. And when you hold those stablecoins, you can easily move to more popular currencies like the USD or like Euro or like the GBP, the Great Britain pound. And so what we've been able to build at Yala essentially is we're able to quickly collect local African currencies, we're able to change them to stable coins, and from stable coins we're able to settle anywhere across the 120 countries in the world, right? So if you're shipping in from Vietnam, if you're shipping in from China, if you're shipping in from Japan, if you're shipping in from the US or from Turkey or anywhere in the world, essentially, we can collect for you, we can collect local currencies across Nigeria and across 27 other African countries. We can take that money and it's called on-ramping, so you on-ramp into stable coins, and then we can off-ramp into USD or whatever currency the manufacturer is looking to receive.
Thank you. So I'd like to ask you about more like SMEs program. Why the local bank, the big bank, doesn't provide money to the small merchants? What is the gap between the merchant and the local big banks?
All right, thank you so much for that question. So SMEs are the backbone, of Nigerian system. They contribute to the Nigerian GDP. So I would say that according to research that was publicized this year, so we have about 30 million of them who are not able to access finance, and then 4% of these people are actually in the cities like Lekki, VI, Ikoyi, Ikeja, and the likes, and 96% of these people are in the rural areas. So the 96% of these people are now the people we are targeting. So I would say to the audience now that our customer segments are the micro businesses, the market women, the smallholder farmers. Now, if you look at this, the fintech that we have in Nigeria today and the commercial bank that you just mentioned are focusing on the 4% of people, neglecting the 96% who are unable to access finance. Now, the 4% already is saturated. A lot of people are targeting them because they consider them as very low risk. They also consider them as somebody who can make use of internet and smartphones. Not talking about the other 96%. Now, to answer your question, the other 96% are the ones suffering the most. They are the ones the commercial banks are not able to give them loan because they are seeing them as very high-risk business. Because somebody cannot access finance doesn't mean the person is not capable of paying back. Like the story of my mother, she never borrowed before. But when that thing struck her, she had no option than to go to the bank. But what did they tell her? You had no credit issue. Because of that, I can't give you. So because they've seen my mother as someone who is actually very high risk, they do not want to give her that finance, right? So the gap between the 96% of people who are not able to access finance to the commercial bank is actually very, very distant. It's very, very long. They don't want to give them loan, right? I don't want to talk too much, but I would say that these SMEs, that are unable to access finance through the commercial banks are the biggest opportunity, the untapped opportunity in Nigerian markets. And that's why we are here. So it interests me when I see some of our customers saying that we are now able to grow our businesses, we are now able to feed our families, we are now able to pay for children's school fees. So it reminds me of how we started. And that's where we are, and that's where we keep to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. まさになんですかね、日本だったら普通に銀行がやってる業務だったりとか、地銀さんがやってる業務だったりすると思うんですけど、まさにそこにかなり大きなギャップがあってですね、そういった金融のインフラをスタートアップが作っているというような、はい、現状でもあります。So we just have 1 minute. So as a last message, please tell us how can Japanese corporate investor participate in the African financial revolution? Quick answer, please.
So I would say, because of time, look for 3 of us. We can take you to Nigeria, or you Google the best startups in Nigeria. But I can tell you, you will never go wrong investing in Nigeria. I want to borrow Femi's word. The smart guys are already doing it. The SG Grow, the Uncovered, and the others. So please invest in Nigeria so that we can collaborate together. Thank you.
Thanks. I think I'll kind of also echo what Rukayada said. I know that it probably takes about 24 hours to go from Japan, from Tokyo to Lagos. But I think it would be good if you're going to come to Nigeria, come to Lagos, or come to other parts of Nigeria and see what it's like on the ground. And I think being able to experience the day-to-day life of a young Nigerian would help you to understand why you need to invest on the continent right now.
It's simple. I'm inviting you to Nigeria just to book that ticket, book that time. We'll pick you from the airport, come and experience Nigeria, and you're going to have a great time, both with Rank, Yala, and Rockstar. Thank you.
Thank you so much. 山本さん、最後にちょっと日本企業向けにですね、アフリカ市場今どんなチャンスがあると実際感じられたか、ちょっとぜひアドバイスお願いします。
ありがとうございます。今、ここの3人、皆さんからも、オポチュニティという言葉がよく出てきたと思います。アフリカって将来的に、非常に機会があるよね、オポチュニティがあるよねっていうこともたくさんあったと思うんですが、事業開発や投資家の観点では、今こそ、今の段階がまさにオポチュニティのタイミング、今やるべきタイミングだと思います。ですので、日本企業にとっては、もうすぐにアフリカに行って投資機会を見つけに行くっていうのが大事じゃないかなと感じました。
Thank you very much. Great insight. 皆さん拍手をお願いします。
Thank you very much. リープフロッグ現象が起こっているフィンテックについての詳細、そして背景としての国の課題を伺いました。人口ボーナス消費拡大による将来の大きな可能性も聞かせてもらいました。個人的にですね、ここではスタートアップが社会課題の解決の手段として大きな機能を果たしていることにとても感銘を受けました。ありがとうございました。ありがとうございました。